time on Beyond Stardom, 5 major celebrities who major in very different fields and disciplines. This king of trash was once the Democratic mayor of Cincinnati. In fact, the Jerry Springer Show actually started life as a politically orientated talk show in 1991, with guests like Oliver North and Jesse Jackson. With instructions from the network, the show was revamped to attract more viewers, and the lower it sank in terms of content, the higher it rose in the ratings. These days, the show features issues such as incest, adultery, transvesticism, and hate group membership. It pits feuding blue-collar rednecks against each other in scenarios that frequently erupt in violence and expletives. Any woman that bears her breasts for the cameras is rewarded with a set of Jerry beads.
That wasn't the intent of the show. It was only when people started calling us with their crazy stories that the company said to me, from now on, we only do crazy. So, and that's how it stands now. From now on, we've been instructed for the last 10 of the 13 years that the only people who are allowed to be on the show are people who are outrageous or who have outrageous stories.
It was a formula that one of the show's fans wanted to bring to the stage. And Jerry was only too happy to step up as producer on Jerry Springer, the opera.
It's outrageousness. And the idea that you take something that has such a classical image as opera and put it with something which is so working class, such as our show, I think the dichotomy really works.
He wasn't the only one. After airing at the Edinburgh Festival in 2002, the opera was such a hit and had scored such rave reviews, it transferred to London's West End. Jerry was chuffed to bits with the casting of his onstage alter ego.
I mean, he really, he has the real physical sense of me, which, it's obviously, unless you have a twin, you never experience that in life. I remember once an interview with Anthony Hopkins when he was doing Nixon, and he says the first thing he likes to do when he does somebody is get the physical person. And I really think you have that down. You're sick.
2 years later, the show, which was written by Richard Thomas and Stuart Lee, was reworked and made for television. And in 2007, Harvey Keitel played the part of Jerry when the opera got a 2-night run at New York's legendary Carnegie Hall. One person who wasn't surprised about the show's success was reality TV impresario Simon Cowell.
It's just like the music industry, when people say it's going down or ticket sales are going down, you do something which is good, and then people will buy your record or come and see the musical. I mean, that's what it's all about, Everyone blames other reasons. If you've got something people are interested in, it'll always do well.
Despite the enduring popularity of his TV show and spin-off opera, Jerry has always wanted to return to politics. And in 2003, rumours were rife that he was about to announce he was running for the US Senate. On a trip to France, Jerry confirmed it was on his mind.
Honestly, I wake up every morning with knots in my stomach thinking, am I ready to give this all up, and can I be effective in politics? And that's what I have to figure out. Can I break through the clutter of the show?
He spent the year travelling through the state trying to gauge public opinion about a candidate who had spent the last 13 years bringing a colourful selection of guests, including pimps, midgets, and incestuous siblings to daytime television. In the end, he made this announcement.
My candidacy would have no purpose if they don't hear that voice. If it's always, well, what do you think of Jerry Springer? What do you think of the show? Can't be that. So I want to still work at that. I have to find other avenues to be helpful. And it can't now be as a candidate. And I'll find other avenues to do it. It's what I really, really believe. And anyone who knows me knows that's the truth.
Forced to make a choice between a political career and a daytime TV host, he no doubt realised that while a week is a long time in politics, the future of gutter entertainment is assured.
Well, it could go forever. It's endless. There'll always be people that are interested in outrageousness.
This former fitness instructor got her first modelling contract after being picked out of the crowd by cameras at a Canadian football game in 1989. Upon moving to Los Angeles, she bleached her hair blonde and had a boob job, making her a prime candidate for the role of lifesaver C.J. Parker in Baywatch, which began in 1992. She starred in the shameless flesh fest for 5 years before leaving to produce and star in her own series, VIP. She still has very fond memories of her days on the beach in Baywatch.
All the sex. No. Just it was the best job in the world, being on the beach every day and with my dog and my kids. I was spoiled, and it's all been, nothing's been even close to it since then.
In fact, keeping the swimsuit on has been quite a challenge for the star, who also formed the inspiration and provided the voice for the cartoon Stripperella. Pamela is the first to admit she's much more comfortable out of clothes than in them. She's appeared in Playboy magazine and the Altogether umpteen times, and in 1997 she got her kit off on an episode of Saturday Night Live. In 2006, she was only too happy to strip down to next to nothing again to support her favourite charity, anti-fur group PETA.
Oh, well, I'd definitely rather be naked than wear fur. I'd probably rather be naked than wear clothes, though, so that's not a good, I'm not a good person to ask. No, I think they're going to have models here tonight in the windows.
But
yeah,
you're not going to be joining them.
I don't know. I'll have to see.
There's always
have a glass of champagne. You know, it's hard to talk me out of a good time.
All right. But before bearing all for the paparazzi, she took the opportunity to name and shame some of those stars who refused to heed the anti-cruelty call.
Well, especially the ones that are starting to put them in their clothing lines, like J.Lo and Beyonce, and I think there's just so many other things. They're such beautiful women, and they're such smart, great role models that it's really important for them to be very conscious about what they wear, and especially it's their fashion icons. So it's really sad to me to see them wear that, because I don't think young girls are thinking about the cruelty that goes into the clothing line. They're thinking about, you know, Beyonce's wearing this or J.Lo, and so they're beautiful girls, and they shouldn't. I think I would hope that they don't continue to put that in their line.
Pam's passion for animal rights has also seen her campaigning against Kentucky Fried Chicken's treatment of poultry. In a letter to the governor of Kentucky, she requested that a statue of KFC founder Colonel Sanders be removed and offered a bust of herself in its place. She's also been a supporter of AIDS charities, and in 2005 she became a spokesmodel for MAC Cosmetics' AIDS Fund. To help keep the money rolling in, she set up her own online poker site with poker legend Doyle Brunson in 2006, where players stood the chance of winning a date with Pamela.
Well, I mean, you have to just check it out and see, because it's fun, it's silly, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, very a little bit, hopefully, sense of humor. I think it's funny and
they come here because of Pamela.
I don't know.
I mean, she's the draw there. We've got we give away a lot of prizes there, and she's going to have some promotions and prizes. And you know, if you could win a dinner with Pamela just by playing on her site.
Yeah.
After the site launch, Pam was jetting off to marry on-again, off-again beau Kid Rock. Asked how she felt ahead of her Saint-Tropez nuptials, she replied,
I have 2 words for you, champagne.
Clearly maths is not Pamela's strong suit, but then neither is marriage. She ran down the aisle with Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee just 96 hours after they met. After giving birth to 2 sons, contracting hepatitis C, and being beaten up by Tommy on numerous occasions, they finally split up in 1998. Her 2006 marriage to Kid Rock lasted all of 4 months, with some sources blaming Kid's public outrage at Pam's cameo appearance in the comedy film Borat for the split. By the end of 2007, she was ready to dip into the marital waters again, this time with Paris Hilton's former boyfriend and professional poker player Rick Salomon. At least the couple will be able to compare notes on homemade sex videos. Back in the 70s, this light-footed movie star had a top 10 hit with the single Let Her In. Within the next few years, John Travolta had starred in two of the biggest films of the decade, Saturday Night Fever and Grease. He had more success with Urban Cowboy, but after that his career took a severe downturn as John's ability to pick good scripts deserted him. Instead of taking up offers to star in hits like American Gigolo, An Officer and a Gentleman, Splash and Fatal Attraction, he opted for duds such as Staying Alive and Perfect. After a long drought, he bounced back with the help of Quentin Tarantino as the gun-toting philosopher Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction. Since then, he's solidified his A-list status with movies like Get Shorty, Face Off, Wild Hogs and Hairspray.
Well, you know, I have the luxury of being the establishment in Hollywood, so there's a group of us that have been around for a while that enjoy the fruits of our labor and enjoy the opportunity of getting the better scripts, and I would just say I'm part of the establishment, I guess, you know. Admittedly so, but that's all right, you know.
Not that he hasn't had a few stinkers along the way. The Get Shorty sequel, Be Cool, bombed, as did the thriller Swordfish. Then there was his disastrous attempt to bring an adaptation of L. Ron Hubbard's Battlefield Earth to the big screen in 2000, which was named the worst film in the history of the Golden Raspberry Awards. That put paid to John's grand hopes of getting the church's word out over 2 Battlefield Earth sequels. Still, the critical and financial disaster did nothing to weaken his faith in the cult, of which he's been a member since 1975.
Well, I've been part of Celebrity Center for 31 years this year, and so every year is a celebration for me because when I found Celebrity Center, I found my life again. That's when I found Scientology, and I found the truth, and I found what works. And so for me, it's very important yearly to mark that celebration, almost like an anniversary. And there's a lot of people doing the same thing as I am, but each year it gets even more impressive, I think.
Whether or not he has his religious beliefs to thank for getting him through the hard times, John certainly manages to impress his co-workers with his consistently positive attitude.
John's like a, worker bee. He shows up to work, and if rain is the condition, that's the condition. He has fun all the time, even in the midst of all that rain and wind and mud and stuff. He was like joking and having fun. That's just John. That's the nature of doing the job. And I have that same attitude. If you can't have fun, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Perhaps the secret behind his success is simply that he loves his job.
In life, I would like to remain vibrant and youthful. And on screen, I have an opposite feeling. I feel like I have the luxury of being something else. And that's the challenge of an actor.
Another luxurious challenge he loves to indulge in is flying an aeroplane. He earned his jet license in 1981 and regularly took to the skies to cheer himself up when the good roles were few and far between. His determination to fly higher and higher drove him to train for a passenger plane license. And in 2002, he was awarded Golden Wings and made an ambassador at large by Australian airline Qantas.
The airlines need some support and positive thinking at this time because I still think that the airlines offer the most amazing way to communicate, to transport, and for business and personal reasons around the world. So we have to eventually turn it around. And I think that injecting a spirit of friendship along the lines of the themes that Qantas already brings to life is a good thing.
John's flying obsession has led him to purchasing a fleet of 5 airplanes, including a Boeing 707 airliner, all parked on his estate in Florida, which backs onto Greystone Airport with its own runway. And if it came to a choice between his film career and flying, he might have a little difficulty in deciding.
I would say that it's at least along the 2 Oscar nominations that I've received in my career. It's right up there with that, if not a little more special.
statuesque star studied chemical engineering at Northwestern University in Chicago before giving it all away to become a supermodel. Cindy Crawford first attracted public attention for her stunning looks while she was pollinating corn as part of her summer job. A newspaper photographer snapped the 16-year-old and published the photo. Cindy was so blown away by the positive feedback, she decided to have a go at modeling. During her early photographic career, the mole above Cindy's lip was airbrushed out of pictures. As she rose and rose through the model ranks, it was to become her celebrated trademark. Throughout the 80s and 90s, she went on to grace the covers of more than 600 magazines. Now in her 40s, Cindy admits that she spent more than half her life in wardrobe, hair and makeup. In 1997, Shape magazine picked her as the second most beautiful woman in the world, after Demi Moore. And she came in at number 5 on Playboy's list of the 100 sexiest stars of the 20th century. Despite retiring from the catwalk in 1999 at the age of 33, she proved she still had it 3 years later, when she was coaxed out of retirement as a favor to Italian designer Roberto Cavalli.
Well, Roberto's a friend of mine, so he asked me to do a show. Actually, he's asked me before, but I was pregnant, so I couldn't do it then. But I love Roberto, but I love his clothes, so it was kind of the perfect match.
Although she has retired from modeling, she certainly hasn't retired from public life and still works as a spokesmodel for a range of designer products such as Omega watches. In 2006, she was paired with teenage golfer Michelle Wie to help launch a new Omega store on Rodeo Drive, and Cindy was full of admiration for the young sporting sensation.
I mean, she represents, all the great traditional things about golf, but also this new, young, and a woman. So, we have Sergio Garcia, we have Ernie Els, and now we're adding a young, beautiful woman who happens to be playing really well too. So it's a great package.
She hoped they might be able to swap a few handy hints.
I'm not very good. I might have a few tips for Michelle about how to model a watch, and hopefully she could give me a few golf tips.
Cindy was also chosen to be the face of Chile's #2 department store chain Ripley, as it launched an ambitious expansion plan in 2005. And flying in to publicize the chain's initial public offering, she certainly talked the talk.
I don't know about all of you, but I've definitely put in for my shares, right? And I hope I have an in here. No insider trading, though. And now more than ever, me fascina Ripley.
The all-American Glamour Girls fan base spreads as far as Moscow, where a Russian space agency commander requested that she get aboard their space tourism program. Word soon got around that Cindy had jumped at the offer.
No, I didn't. I was planning that. Someone said that the cosmonauts wanted me there, and I said I would go if I could be there and back in 1 week. If they invite me, maybe. I don't know.
She can wear an Omega, no?
If I can wear an Omega.
When she's not out giving her sponsors their money's worth, she's either at home looking after the 2 children she shares with ex-model husband Randy, or putting her weight behind her own skincare line and production company. Or she could be lending her services to one of the many causes she supports, such as leukemia and AIDS research. She was only too happy to help raise awareness at the Children Affected by AIDS Halloween benefit. She also joined other celebs to entertain troops returning from the war in Iraq. And in 2007, her enduring ability to lend every event she attends great poise and grace earned her a well-deserved Hollywood Style Award. She was delighted with the honor.
It was exciting for me, especially because I feel like tonight's more about honoring not just, the way you look as a model, it's genetics and you're lucky, but then to take that and that I still have a career at 41 and I'm doing projects that I'm really passionate about, a skincare line and a home line, and I feel like that this honor recognizes that, so I think it means a little bit more than just saying, great model or whatever.
Along with Jack Nicholson, this distinguished Englishman is the only actor to have been nominated for an acting Oscar in every decade since the 1960s. Michael Caine still uses his real name, Maurice Micklewhite, when he's not on the job. The former King of Cool, who became an icon thanks to films like Alfie, The Italian Job and Get Carter, went through a lean time in the 1980s. He had to resort to appearing in stinkers like Jaws: The Revenge and Bullseye to pay his mortgage. In 1999, he bounced back, winning an Oscar for The Cider House Rules. He received a knighthood the year after, and since then he's played a succession of supporting old duffers in a string of big-ticket crowd pleasers. And Michael is having a ball.
Oh, it's great. It's like I get all the wisdom parts now. When you get grey hair and you get a little older, you get all the parts where you're the wise old man. The only thing is I don't have any wisdom, but I try to act it.
As Hugh Jackman's mentor in the 2006 thriller The Prestige, Michael's character had the benefit of hindsight.
He's the narrator, he's the facilitator, the fixer, the father figure, and the guy who knows where everything is buried, or thinks he does, because nobody in this film knows everything.
On the press tour to promote the Christopher Nolan film, Michael showed off the fascination for trivia that has earned him his reputation as an engaging raconteur, if not as a magician.
Useless, absolutely useless. I couldn't do any of those tricks. But fortunately, I don't play a magician in this. But I did learn the one trick with the canary, with the bird cage and everything. He's Tweety Pie back there, and he's still alive. I never killed him. But in the old days, they used to kill him and they had to have another bird out. We had the same bird because we had a woman from the Humane Society on the set watching us. If we'd have killed a bird, I wouldn't be, you'd be interviewing me in Sing Sing or Pentonville in London. I'd be in prison.
Over the course of his career, the Cockney actor has crammed hundreds of useless facts into a series of trivia books under variations of the title, "Not a lot of people know that," his most famous catchphrase. His great love of chill-out music also fueled the recent release of his own compilation mix CD called Caine. He's now rumoured to have signed a deal with EMI to keep pumping out the chill-out compilations. He got to chill out a little on screen as the pot-smoking political cartoonist in the dystopian sci-fi film Children of Men in 2003.
I've never played a hippie. I play a junkie. I've never played a junkie. I play a relic of the 60s. I'm probably a relic of the 60s. That's the only thing I have in common.
Playing second banana to hero heartthrob Clive Owen didn't faze Sir Michael, whose motivations have changed over the years.
Now I look for things that are different, you know. You just want to be different every time. So when this came along, it's not a very big part in the movie, actually. Who turned up Clive? He's got the big part. You heard the shout. Yeah.
Not that he's totally resigned himself to playing supporting roles. In 2007, at the age of 74, he took top billing in the remake of the 1972 thriller Sleuth. Michael starred in the original in the role now taken over by Jude Law. In the update, written by Harold Pinter and directed by Kenneth Branagh, Michael took on the part immortalised by Sir Laurence Olivier. At the Sleuth premiere, his young co-star, who's made something of a habit of reprising Michael's classic roles, was full of admiration.
Working with Michael was extraordinary. I mean, I've been very lucky. I've worked with some great actors. Michael's an icon. You know, he's also a gentleman. He's also incredibly modest. He's also very good fun.